I'm like, what the actual f did I even read? This is going to be the perfect book. Miss Onyx Storm. I gave this book, oh super entertaining and like reality TV Wattpad-ish, where like you have to keep reading even though it may not be the best. Not like a smooth ride. This is kind of one of those thrillers where I don't remember anything about it. I'm trying to see if this angle looks good, but I think my viewfinder screen is just crooked. Roll the clip of how that happened. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. So, hi guys and welcome back. So today is the first wrap up of 2024 and I feel like I had a great reading month. So I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. We are also going to be picking a few reads for February using the TBR jar. So without further ado, let's get into what I read in January and then what I am hopefully going to read in February. Okay, so I started off my year with a reread because I was kind of entering the year in a slump, which I feel like I was just in a slump in all parts of my life, which happens at the end of every year because I just get nostalgic and emotional about it. So I was like, I need to reread one of my favorite books to get that spark back. I reread Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is just one of my all-time favorite romances. It's just so wholesome and sweet and such just a soulmate connection, and that is why I love it so much. And Abby Jimenez's writing just, it hits for me. She is the queen of rom-com, but also hitting you with the emotional punch. My camera died and I got hot. But so the premise of this book is Justin basically posts on Reddit this story about how he's cursed when it comes to finding love because everyone he dates and then breaks up with goes on to find their soulmates after him. So he posts that on Reddit and then Emma finds the Reddit thread and is like, wait, that happens to me too. So basically they start DMing through Reddit and eventually they find themselves at the same place at the same time, so they end up meeting up and kind of striking a deal, being like, hey, if we date each other and then break up, then we can find our soulmates after. So that's kind of where like the rom-com comes in, but leave it to Abby Jimenez to have made the characters just have such emotional baggage. Both of the characters have something very deep and just intense that they have to go through and figure out for themselves and then as a couple. So that is what I love in a romance book, where the characters have a lot going on and there's just a lot of emotional depth behind them, but there's also still the comedy aspect. I'm still smiling, I'm crying too. 5 stars again. The next book I finished was Winter by Marissa Meyer. So this is the last full book in the Cinder series. There's like a couple spin-offs I think and some novellas, but this is the last like full book. I gave this one 5 stars as well. I have really enjoyed this series and this one just wrapped it up so well, and I really liked how this was a super thick book, so you just got so much information about all the characters you've met throughout the series. So what I really liked about this series is book 1, it is following Cinder mostly and it is a loose Cinderella retelling. Book 2 follows a different character who is inspired by a different Disney princess, and then same with book 3, and then so you just get more characters added on as the series goes, and I really liked how she did that because then at the end in book 4 you just have a big group of found family and there's just so much going on. It was action-packed the whole time and it was so well written and well paced and it was just such a good story. This is kind of like sci-fi fantasy dystopian-ish. I don't know what it's technically categorized as, but this was so good and I actually cannot wait to read more of Marissa Meyer because she just has so many different books out, I feel. And then I've read Zodiac Academy, which this was very random for me because this book has been staring at me on my shelves for years at this point, but I was just on Libby randomly and I saw that the first book, this one, was available on graphic audio. I think my library like just got it or something and I just happened to be on the app at the right time. So I borrowed it and it was my first graphic audiobook, which that experience, amazing. 10 out of 10. Love graphic audios. Also, a little hint, at least with this one, the graphic audio I think was like 9 hours and then I looked at the regular audiobook and that one was like 12 hours. So if you want like all the information still, but you don't want to listen as long, graphic audio book. I gave this book I think 2 stars. It's kind of one of those that I'm like, what the actual did I even read? It was definitely a fever dream, and I can definitely say that I don't know if I'm going to be continuing the series. I wouldn't put it past me to continue it, honestly. This book, it's about two twins. For me, I couldn't tell who was who the entire book. The first chapter, we got them kind of in a different setting, and then when the setting changed, I didn't know like who was who, because they were distinctly different in the first part, the different setting, and then I didn't know like who was who after that. Like I didn't know which was which. That was a little confusing, and I just feel like they really lacked depth in this book, which obviously this is like a freaking 27 book series, so I guarantee you they get more in depth. But yeah, I just could not connect to them, and I know that it wasn't really as bully romancy in this book, I feel like, as it gets, but there was definitely hints of it, and I was just like, I don't like how they're being treated, so it doesn't sit right with me, and I don't know if I can push through that. So that is why I gave it 2 stars. I also just felt, I don't know, it was just not my thing, I guess. So I understand though how people could come to love this series, as it's kind of just like super entertaining and like reality TV Wattpad-ish, where like you have to keep reading even though it may not be the best. So that is Zodiac Academy. I do actually have a Libby hold for the second book dramatic audio, so if that comes due and I'm in the mood to read it, maybe I will continue the series, because literally what everyone says is push through to book 3 or 4 and then it gets better. I'm like, guys, do I want to do that? I don't know. And then I listened to His and Hers by Alice Feeney, also from Libby. I give this one 3 stars. This is kind of one of those thrillers where I don't remember anything about it. Yeah, all I know is this was following 2 people, a guy and a girl, hence the title, His and Hers. And there was a mystery going on in the town, and then it got weird, and then yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was kind of underwhelming because I've read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and that was just like insane to me. So I was, I guess, expecting more from her, but that was my bad, obviously. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was entertaining while I was reading it, and once I got more into it, I couldn't put it down, but I have literally not thought about it since, and I don't even remember what happened. So, and then, so this is the first book. And then this is the first month where I am in my first ever book club. Yippee. It's like not online, it's in person with some friends. So super excited about this, and it's been going great so far, and I'm really excited to just keep doing it. So our first book was When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, which, what a first book club book. I mean, seriously, this is kind of a crazy first one. I still haven't decided on like an exact rating. I said somewhere between a 4 and a 5, but not like a 5 or a 4.5. I think I'm just gonna sit with a 4. I feel like when I was actually reading this book, like the first kind of like 30% was really slow, and then it picked up again in the middle, and then it kind of slowed down again a bit, and just like priorities shifted, I guess, and then it got really good again. So it was just kind of not like a smooth ride, and I love a smooth, I'm hooked from the beginning to the end book. And I did kind of just have a hard time understanding what was going on in the first part, so I definitely think I'm gonna reread this obviously before the second one comes out, because I'm so excited for the second one. But I really love this book. I love dragons in books, and I love just this type of fantasy world and just vibe. I really liked the ending of this book, and it got so good and entertaining. I really liked the main girl as well. She was very badass, sassy, and I loved the main guy. I loved their relationship. I just really enjoyed everything about this book, but there were some things that confused me in some parts where it got slower. I do think that watching kind of recaps and like explanations on TikTok really helped me with this book and kind of grow to love it more. Same with chatting in book club, just like being able to understand it more really helped me appreciate it more. So I think that after a reread, this could be rated even a little higher, but for right now I'm gonna stick with a 4 because I just had a hard time getting into it, and it definitely was slow to start, but then once I got to like 50%, I binged it. So this one is about our assassin. Her name is Reeve. She is an assassin for like the rebel group in their city, and so basically this bounty hunter shows up and they're kind of after each other, and then she gets imprisoned. So that's kind of where it starts. I'm not going to tell you much more because clearly more than that goes down in this, and I just love going into fantasy, especially blind, so I think that it's just such a more enjoyable experience that way, so I would definitely recommend. Alright, and then this was kind of a random pickup, but it is on my 25 for 2025. The Great Gatsby by these two. They are a mother-daughter duo, so that is adorable. This is just a less than 250 page book about a dog and his owners, basically, and I loved it. I I gave this one 4, but it's kind of just like a fun, sweet time. I was hooked from the beginning to the end, and it was really funny, and there was actually a lot that was going on and a lot of different topics talked about in this book. This is the second one to joint custody, so I won't say too much if you do want to pick this up, but the dog does narrate this, but it's not told in like a silly, like undescriptive way. It's very detailed and the dog knows what's going on. It just makes it so much funnier and more entertaining. So I really like this one. The cover definitely gives like holiday vibe, which you do get a few scenes of a couple different holidays, but it's not like the whole book. You only get like a chapter of each one, so definitely recommend. And this is literally 230 pages, so very quick time. And then this is the time of the month where I realized that Onyx Storm was coming out on the 21st, not the 28th, so I tried to reread Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm in that time period, and I did it, and it was awesome. Obviously I made a whole vlog of it, so if you want to go watch. Okay, so this was my third read of Fourth Wing, and this book is gonna be a 5-star forever. I just know it. This is just what I love in a fantasy book. It was so fast-paced. There was a great balance between romance, friendships, trials, politics, everything. And this book is just so bingeable and fast-paced. Every time I've read it, I've binged it because I just couldn't stop. I cannot say enough positive things about this book. It is so good and such a good start to the series, and I just really appreciate how Rebecca Yarros just throws you straight into, is it conscription day? Whatever, the start of Violet's writer training. So that just made it so entertaining, and there's definitely some like hints and lore that is dropped in this book that is important throughout the series. So I definitely loved this one at 5 stars. I feel like I talk about this book all the time, so I'll shut up now. And then I reread Iron Flame. I talked about this a lot in my reading vlog, but when this first came out last year, the year before, I read it in one day, which I regret doing because I feel like I just missed a lot of information and didn't absorb it the best I did. So this reread was really great because I just fell in love with this book more and appreciated it a lot more, and I also just filled a lot of gaps that were in my head about this series. So I love this one. I gave it 5 stars as well because it was so good. Like, this book was so good. I feel like maybe the first time I read it, I still gave it 5 stars then, but I was a little like iffy about that, and like, am I just giving this 5 stars because I love Fourth Wing? But the reread really solidified that it is a 5-star book and still a great time, and there's still so much that goes on, and it sets up great for the rest of the series. I feel loved this one. Miss Onyx Storm, I gave this book 4, but I do feel like I should reread it eventually, and it might be bumped up just because I feel like this is like Sarah J Maas. All of her books automatically 5 stars basically. I feel like this could be like that, but to me, with how Iron Flame ended, I just expected Onyx Storm to go kind of in a different way and the pacing to be different. I just kind of felt like the way this ended and the way this ended are kind of the same, but I still enjoyed it. I still binged it and couldn't stop reading it, and I loved all of the characters. And I've seen a lot of people who are kind of confused about the lore, the politics, the characters, and I was good. Honestly, not to flex, but I felt great with my knowledge of who was who and the places and everything since I reread Iron Flame. So yeah, I felt great with this, but I just did feel like it was kind of a more filler book, which obviously stuff was still happening and we got a lot of hints for the rest of the series, and it set up good for that, but I do feel like it could have been a little condensed, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I still love this, and I do feel like one of my other complaints throughout Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, there is kind of like a main group of friends that you are following, and in this one I feel like we kind of strayed away from them, which like, ow, because I love them. Like, I feel like we got more of these random people who don't matter a lot, but we kind of didn't get as much of the main 4 characters, which I really wanted because I love their group so much. So yeah, this was still a great time, but I do think that it is my least favorite of the series now. I do feel like, though, if I reread it, I'd probably definitely most 100% enjoy it more and just understand it, because I do feel like I did have some expectations and just, I guess, like, ideas of where the story should go, but it didn't go that way, and I just need to go into it with different expectations. So that is Onyx Storm. Oh, and then I picked up Heartless Hunter, which I wanted to pick this up before the second book comes out next month, and I really enjoyed this book. It was so fast-paced, like unbelievably fast-paced. I felt like I read it for like 2 hours and I finished it, which I guarantee that wasn't true, but it was extremely fast paced. Like, I felt like I read 10 pages and I was on page like 50. It was crazy. I loved it. So this follows our main girl, and she is a witch in a town where witches aren't allowed. They will get if you're found out that you are a witch. And so she actually also helps other witches escape the town to obviously stay alive and survive. And what I really appreciated about this book was, one, the pacing, two, there was a lot of twists and turns and just underlying things going on that were hinted at, but like you couldn't really tell like what was fully going on. So I freaking loved this book. It was so good, and I feel like it was a great first book in the series. I do wish though we didn't get a lot of detail on like how she actually helped the witches escape and just kind of stuff like that. So I wish we would have got that more in depth. It was just kind of like told that she does that, not really shown. So yeah, I wish we would have got more of that. I loved the romance. The romance was so good, and there was a lot of characters I really enjoyed in this book and just were very intriguing. So that is everything I read in January as of now. All right, guys. Should we pick a few February reads? I'm only gonna do like 5, I think, because I don't want to overwhelm myself and I want to actually read some of these, so maybe we'll do 4. Oh, it says buy yourself a new book, but I am very much in the no spend January right now. Oh wait, I know what this is. I'm not gonna buy it now because I'm waiting for Target to have like a BOGO deal or a buy 2 get 1, but buy yourself a new book. So for this one, I'm going to choose Beg, Borrow, and Steal by Sarah Adams. I have read all of her books except for like the ones that are just getting traditionally published now, and I have really enjoyed them all, especially the When in Rome series, which this book is a part of. So I've been holding off buying this because I'm just really trying to not buy many books or other things at all. Yeah, that is what we are going to choose for this one, and I think this is perfect because Valentine's Day, romance, and this is just a cute, sweet romance book. Definitely gonna choose that one. All right, let's see. A DNF. So I think this meant, I made these like 2 years ago, so I think this meant a book that I like soft DNF to kind of give it another chance. So there is one that I have actually been actively trying to read, but I just keep picking it up and stopping, then picking it up and stopping. So this is God's Grave by J. Kristoff. I read Nevernight, the first book, in 2022, and maybe like a couple months after I started this second book, God's Grave, and I got like 10 pages in and then I stopped until like this month. So I read I think like 30 more pages this month, and then again I stopped because it just got kind of, I don't know, I guess confusing, and I just wasn't as hooked. So I think for this one I'm going to try and keep continuing that one because I just really want to push through and read it because I do really enjoy this series and want to see where it goes. All right, 2 more. Right. A Kindle Unlimited book. This is awesome. So one for the month of February that I am for sure going to be reading is Freida McFadden's new book. I think it's called The Crash, but that is our book club book for February, or we might have 2. I think we're doing like the first half of it, The Crash, since it's so short, and then maybe picking another one, but I don't know what that's gonna be. So I think I'm gonna do The Crash for this one because I'll for sure read it because I have to for book club, but also it's just a short, sweet book, and I think it's like a wintry vibe thriller, so it'll be perfect for this time of year. So definitely gonna choose that one for this one. Slay, one I'll actually read. I think I'll actually read all of these. Like, this is a realistic TBR. All right, this is the last prompt. A book less than 300 pages. I'm like such in a fantasy mood this month, year, but I don't think I know a single fantasy book under 300 pages. So let's take a look at my romance. I guarantee like Freida McFadden's might be. Same with Beg, Borrow, and Steal. I just looked through my Goodreads want to read category for a book, and I was just about to be like, guys, we're giving up. I cannot find anything, but I just found one and I'm actually excited about this. So we have a book by N.S. Perkins, which I have read. I literally don't remember what it's called, but this one didn't really love it. But then I also read Our Final Love Song by her. I have it here. It's just not it's not getting out from there. And I enjoyed that one a lot. It was a time loop one, and I enjoyed the writing and the characters. So I think we are going to go with Where Time Stands Still. It's the Evermore series, which I love folklore and Evermore albums, so perfect. And this is 296 pages. I think this is a series, and I think it's kind of like wintry. So this is going to be the perfect book, and I'm actually really excited about this TBR. For a final February TBR wrap up, we have Buy Yourself a New Book, and for that one it is going to be Big, Borrow, and Steal by Sarah Adams. And then for a DNF, so a book I have previously soft DNF'd, a chance to recontinue it, we are doing God's Grave by J. Kristoff. And then for a Kindle Unlimited book, we are doing The Crash by Frida McFadden. And then lastly, for a book less than 300 pages, we are doing, I forgot what it's called, When Time Stands Still by N.S. Perkins. Going into this, I was like, guys, if we're being honest, I probably won't read any of these. But these all, I think I'm actually gonna read, and maybe I can make a video of them since I think I'm actually gonna do it. So if you do want to see that, and if you like these like TBR plus wrap-up videos, let me know and I can keep doing them. I wasn't too sure if I'm gonna do them in the new year, but this month the timing just kind of worked out. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week. And make sure you let me know what your favorite book of January was, because I would love to read it, and I'll see you guys next week.